Okay, are we recording? Yeah. Oh. Ha. Okay, here I am talking, saying things. Here we go. Okay. 10 years. 10 years of making Exploding Kittens. 10 years of designing cards, of designing characters, of making expansion packs, of making plush toys, of making TV shows, of crafting the crazy 8-foot tall vending machines at conferences. 10 whole years of crafting this experience for you to play. And now we got to do something special for the 10-year anniversary. So that special, amazing, spectacular thing is, of course, the Exploding Kittens board game. And when we last left off, that board game wasn't doing so well. Let me show you where we were. I know, it's ugly. It's not there yet. It's got a bunch of interesting things going on. We talked about gameplay in the last video, but the transition between these boards is boring. It's not interesting. None of the spaces are changing. It's not actually two different boards. We just drew some arrows around the periphery. We're not there yet, but we do have that flap, right? This motion in the board. And when you have motion in the board, that means you're pulling and pushing on components. And once you're pulling and pushing on components, you can do some pretty incredible things. And what I'm talking about is 3 dimensions. Essentially, I mean pop-up books, but don't run away the moment I say pop-up books, because pop-up books have gotten way cooler than the last time you looked at a pop-up book. So this is actually a series of books. Every page you flip through has a different mechanic. And that was where I wanted to start. I needed a large library and vocabulary of what is possible with papercraft. You actually can use paper to make noise. This time around, we just wanted to focus on things like this, like how do we get height? How do we get a beautiful sense that this thing is bigger than the sum of its parts? Okay, this I so desperately wanted to use. Look at that explosion. I mean, the game is called Exploding Kittens. That seems like what we wanted to do. Ultimately proved a little bit too expensive. This slider was key. As soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, wait a second. Those are a lot like spots on a board. And how cool is it that you can pull different tabs and change the spots? This is one of my favorite books ever, the pop-up book of phobias. Each page is devoted to a different thing you might be scared of. Check out how cool this is. For fear of dentists, as you open and close this page, look at that drill. It actually spins. It's on a little rotor with a wire wrapped around it, and as you flip the page, the drill actually turns. Oh. Okay, this next page is, of course, fear of airplanes or fear of crashing in airplanes. Look out the window as you turn. The oxygen mask falls from the ceiling, your food spills all over the place, and of course, now you're sideways. Oh, so scary. This is brilliant. So this is claustrophobia, fear of closed spaces. This page actually doesn't even open all the way. That top section, the roof element there, actually keeps the page from opening fully. And so you're literally stuck inside a space that's too small for the actual book. So this is fear of speaking in public. As you pull the page open, you are the speaker. Everyone is staring at you. This is a great example of height. This is fear of heights, and the perspective on this shot is just glorious. You're looking right down the edge of that building, right out at you. They play around with perspective. They play around with the 3D element. It's just so good. Fear of being buried alive, the worst. So scary and so well done. This is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. What's really important is just the height, like noticing how far things pop up. These elements on pages like this extend higher than you think they could possibly extend because of double folds, because of gearing mechanisms. This is a great example of a 3D image. So not only does it pop up, it expands in the X, Y, and Z axes. So you actually get a 3D object, a square, a cube rather, appears on this page, which is just so hard to do. Beautiful storytelling, but this is not something we could afford to do in the board game because of just how many components are here, but look at how beautiful that is. This is the final page in the book and one of my favorites. Look at what happens. It's this beautiful cascade of cards. They extend higher than you'd expect they'd be able to. There's multiple layers. It creates depth. It creates this beautiful motion. This is what I really wanted to capture as much as we could because holy crap, is this complicated, expensive, so many moving parts. Just a perfect example of what we should be doing when we create a 3D board game. This is alpha number 2. We're not quite ready for beta yet, but what I wanted to do was say, all right, what if we took our alpha and put some art into it just to see, is this thing actually as cool as we hope it is? I'm so excited to show you. Okay, so here is our blue board. The spaces are no longer connected to each other. If you think back to the previous version, every space was right next to the next space. The holes that you have to cut out in order to turn the flap can have no space in between them, which means no structure, which means your flap is starting to get really wobbly because it's got these huge channels cut out of it. But we thought, oh, very simple solve. Let's just make each one a circle, space them out a little bit. But I know, I'm stalling. I'm not showing you the coolest part. What does the other side of this thing look like? Why is there this little cutout here? This is because this is our first time ever seeing art applied to Hellscape. Check that out. None of this is final art. This is just version 1 that we were just playing around like, okay, what if the cat that was totally calm here absolutely went ballistic and turned into Hell Kitty? Now, this introduced huge problems. One, I don't actually like this art. I don't think we quite nailed it. I think it looks a little sparse. There needs a lot of density. We need to see more explosions. We need to see more chaos. And we've introduced, if you look here, you see this seam? This is a tear seam. As you turn the page, there's so much tension on this flap that it's actually bending right there. So we've got a structural problem that we've introduced as well. Additionally, to get this thing to go to full height, I need to hyperextend the board. If it's just flat on the table, it does this. So I need to hyperextend it. That's bad too, because laying it flat on a table, it's not going to hyperextend. There's a bunch of issues with all the spaces. Pieces kept falling out of this. Problem, all kinds of problems. But progress. And that's so exciting at this phase. We can start to see what we have to fix. And we're not just like playing around with what if anymore. Now it's like, what is? I get so excited by this part. So let me show you the next prototype. I still think we're in alpha at this point. And let me show you what I mean. So here, this is us trying to say like, okay, there's that weird hyperextension thing that was going on up here. Well, do we need that piece? Like, what if we just didn't have that art? And I think the answer is not great, right? Like this isn't very impressive. We need something up here. We need a kind of a centerpiece to hold everything together and something that you're really going to stare at and be impressed with. So this was a great failed attempt. I love failures. Like we talked about failures earlier, but this is such a great example of it's okay to fail. Embrace failure. Approach failure as quickly as you can and move right through it. We cut the top off this thing. It sucked. Gone. Let's move on to the next one. This is our first beta candidate. Like this is the first one I thought, okay, this is probably actually playable. So let's see what we got. And here's what I'm going to show you. We have started to work out a few of the kinks in the art. Notice now it can sit flat. Now we've got a nice top piece on this. Everything's starting to work. But in getting a bunch of the components to work back here, we had to add in a lot of stuff. There's a whole bunch of new tabs, new slots, new glue points, a lot of manual labor had to go into this thing. And the problem is that increased the cost. So to compensate for that, we tried a much thinner board. That was a mistake. This thinner board is terrible. It's creasing all over the place. There are seam lines everywhere. You gotta really force this thing shut and it barely works. So this was another failure, but again, we hit it so fast. This was like 2 days of turnaround, got this thing, hated it. Off we go on to the next one. Okay, this next one, very sticky noted up, is because we tried a brand new example, a brand new experiment. The problem we were having is when this thing was in this mode, this little tab kept flipping upwards. It kept like holding up like this. So we thought, okay, quick experiment. Let's put a piece of Velcro here. Yeah, this was terrible. Like every time you can see how much work it is to do that. It should not be work to flip the board. Flipping the board should be celebratory. It should be exciting. You should be so excited to flip the board. You shouldn't have to fight with this thing and worry about tearing it. So this was another very quick, like 1 week turnaround prototype. Does Velcro work? Answer, no, Velcro does not work. Let's move on. So it's got, all the components we talked about. We got our instructions. We got our little characters in there. We talked about the move cards. We decided to go with circles instead of cards because we needed them to stay separate. We never wanted you to confuse one deck of cards with the other. So this is our final move deck. Glorious. I'm so happy with how this turned out. Here's the deck of cards, the action cards. Each one does a new and incredible thing. I won't go through all of them. Suffice to say, these are amazing. Like, it was so much fun to design these things, come up with different actions that each one can do, allow the players to deploy these strategically with great malice against each other. So good. I'm so excited for you to try this game, but we really have to show you the nearly final board. Okay, so the reason I say nearly final instead of actually final is because it's not totally final yet. You're seeing very, very early off the production run samples, but I wanted to share them with you because it's so exciting to show you this like absolutely almost across the finish line version. Here we go. In previous versions, all we did when we flipped the board was we changed arrows, right? It was like things changed from ladders to chutes, if you know the game Chutes and Ladders. Don't worry about that. It was super boring. When I switch this thing into hell mode, something very special happens. You know the pop-up is coming. You've seen that a bunch of times now, but I want you to watch these numbers. Yes, this still has Velcro. The final version does not. You know what the final version has? It has magnets. One magnet on this side, one magnet on this side. It holds everything in place perfectly. Deal with this. This is not quite final yet, but it's so close. Ignore that. Watch these numbers when I flip the board. Watch every single number. Every single number on the board has just changed. This is now hell mode. This is now a much more aggressive board. There are now explosions everywhere. All of these numbers have gone down. All of these numbers have gone up, meaning players who are in last place have now a huge advantage because they're going to gain cards because they're far back. Players near the end have a massive minefield to traverse, and they're going to be earning very few cards along the way. So this is finally doing everything we want. Again, watch the numbers, watch the numbers, watch the numbers. Now we're in normal mode again. All the numbers have moved up. A ton of the explosions have disappeared. And we get to go back and forth and change the way the game is played as you flip the board. We sent this thing through testing, and it was a thing of beauty. Like, it worked so well. Players were actually using the board strategically. They were playing cards, which sent people down rabbit holes that eventually ended in booby traps. They were using cards to steal cards from other players. They were using cards to switch spaces on the board. They were using cards to skip players' turns. Everything we wanted to see in Exploding Kittens, everything that delivers on that concept of this should not be entertaining. This is just a tool. It makes the players entertaining. And finally, after months of building and rebuilding and failing and learning, we finally nailed that in the Exploding Kittens board game. Pay very careful attention to this zero because it does a special magic trick. We had this problem where you see this little flap coming in right there? See that? That's the edge of the interior flap. And in order to replace the zero, well, with another zero, because we didn't actually want it to change, we were having this problem where a player sitting on this space is going to hit this lip and it actually gets knocked out. So in the final version, I can't wait for you to see how we solved this problem on the zero. Same problem on the other edge. So that's it. We got it. We're done. We got to the end. You stuck with me across multiple videos, and we finally got to the end of the project. This game, I know this is the French version, but the full English, international, every imaginable language version is in production right now. And you got to see behind the curtain how this thing was actually made. We have now watched this thing in development for 6 months, but more than that, it's been in development for like 2 years. From the very first time I thought about this game, it's literally been 30 months. 30 months of agonizing over this thing. And if you want to extend even farther than that, it's been 10 years since we came up with Exploding Kittens and started down this journey. I think this is one of the best things I have ever built. If you go and buy this game and you play it, tell me what you think. Like, please tag me in your review. And I'm okay with bad reviews. I mean, I don't think they're going to be bad. I think you're going to love this thing, but it's okay. Like, Try the game, let me know what you think, tag me, and let's have a conversation about it. If you want to know more about how games are made, I've got a whole video series on it, everything that I put into games, from prototyping to artwork to box design to instruction writing. I am obsessed with building games. I think they bring people closer together. I think they get us off of screens for just little moments throughout the day, and ultimately, I think games make the world a better place. So, I am going to do my best to teach you how to build games, and now more than ever before, please go make something.